You are looking at your bank account right now and seeing a number like $10,000 or maybe even $50,000 sitting there, perfectly safe and untouched. And naturally, you probably feel responsible, maybe even proud. You did exactly what people, parents, and society have always told you to do with your money. But here is the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say out loud. You may actually be the victim of a mathematical crime. That money is not just sitting there protecting you. It is quietly losing value in front of your eyes while an invisible tax keeps shaving off the purchasing power of every single dollar you own. You may think you are building a safety net for your future, but in reality, you may be building a trap that guarantees you become poorer the longer that money stays still. By the time we are done here, I want to show you why your emergency fund might actually be your biggest financial liability, and why the banking system profits from your fear while you lose purchasing power in silence. To understand why this is happening, we have to look at the math banks hope you never figure out on your own, because their business model depends on your ignorance. The average savings account in America pays a pathetic amount of interest, usually only a fraction of a percent, while inflation keeps pushing the cost of living higher year after year. Once you actually run the numbers, the truth becomes obvious. If your bank pays you less than 0.5% while inflation is running at 3% or more, you are not really saving money at all. You are effectively paying an annual fee just to let your cash sit there and decay while the bank uses your money to make itself richer. If you had $50,000 in a standard savings account today, that money would likely have the buying power of only about $37,000 in 10 years. That means you lost roughly $13,000 without ever spending a dollar. That is what I call the silent heist. The bank borrows your money, lends it out for cars, mortgages, and credit cards at far higher rates, pays you scraps, and lets inflation destroy the rest of your value. The reason smart, hardworking people fall into this trap is not because they cannot do the math. It is because their biology is working against them in a modern financial world. We have talked before about the poverty brain, where growing up without financial stability rewires your mind to treat every expense like danger and every dollar in the bank like survival. When you see a big pile of cash in your savings account, it calms your amygdala. It tells your primitive brain that you have enough to survive the winter. That feeling creates what behavioral finance calls loss aversion, where the pain of losing money feels about twice as strong as the pleasure of gaining it. So instead of putting money into the market where it might fluctuate, you choose the guaranteed loss of inflation because it feels safer right now. But to really break out of this mindset, you need to understand that banks are not storage lockers where your exact bills sit waiting for you. Banks operate on fractional reserve banking, which means they keep only a small slice of your deposit available and lend most of it out to other people. Your money becomes someone else's car loan, business loan, or credit card balance, and the bank earns 7%, 15%, or even 25% while paying you almost nothing. When you keep too much cash in a low-interest account, you are basically working for the bank for free. You provide the raw material for their profit engine, and at the same time, you pay the inflation tax. Wealthy people understand this system and refuse to let capital sit idle because they know money has to move in order to grow. Stagnant money is dying money. We can actually put a price tag on this fear by looking at opportunity cost over time, and that is where the damage becomes brutal. Let's say you are overly cautious and decide to keep $50,000 in savings just in case, even though you really only need about $10,000 for true emergencies. If you took that extra $40,000 and invested it in a boring low-cost index fund averaging 10% returns, it could grow to around $697,000 over 30 years. That means the choice to keep it in the bank for emotional comfort did not cost you nothing. It cost you over $650,000 in future wealth. You are basically paying the bank hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime just to babysit money you did not even need to touch. That may be the most expensive insurance policy on earth. A big reason people fall into this trap is that they have a terrible definition of what a real financial emergency actually is. Most people treat their savings account like a slush fund. They see a large balance and suddenly think they can afford a vacation or a new couch. We need to reset that thinking. A roof replacement in 5 years is not an emergency. That is a planned expense, and you should be saving for it in a different bucket. Your emergency fund is not a lifestyle upgrade fund. It is insurance. Its purpose is to stop you from selling assets at the wrong time. Liquidity is oxygen. When the market crashes and you lose your job at the same time, the person with no cash has to sell stocks at the bottom just to pay rent, and that destroys wealth permanently. The answer is not to empty your bank account. The answer is to use what I call the liquidity ladder to decide exactly how much cash is too much. The first rung is your sleep well buffer. This is the money in checking that covers about 1 month of expenses plus a little extra so you never overdraft. This is not an investment account. This is just the grease that keeps your life running smoothly. You do not care about return here, you care about utility. The second rung is your real emergency fund. This should live in a high-yield savings account earning around 4% or 5%, not in a traditional bank account earning almost nothing. If you are single and renting, you need about 3 months of essential expenses. If you have a family or a mortgage, you should aim for 6 months. Once that bucket is full, you must stop filling it. Every dollar beyond that should go into the third rung, which is your wealth engine. That is where the magic happens. Every extra dollar after your emergency fund is full should be sent into tax-advantaged retirement accounts or taxable brokerage accounts. That money buys assets like index funds and real estate, which let you own a piece of the global economy and actually fight back against inflation. If you have a large pile of cash right now and feel scared to put all of it into the market at once, you can use a strategy called dollar cost averaging to reduce that fear. Divide your excess cash into 6 chunks and set up automatic transfers, so 1 chunk goes into the market on the first of each month for the next 6 months. This works because it removes emotion from the decision and turns market volatility into an advantage instead of a source of stress. If the market falls after your first purchase, that is actually good news, because next month your automatic transfer buys more shares at a lower price, reducing your average cost. You need to understand that if you are young, your biggest risk is not the stock market dropping temporarily. Your biggest risk is running out of money in old age because you were too conservative. Historically, the stock market has returned around 10% annually, while inflation runs around 3%, giving you roughly a 7% real return that actually builds wealth. Cash returns almost nothing, which means the difference between holding cash and holding assets is the difference between retiring comfortably and working until you die. To make this work, you have to shift your identity from saver to capital allocator. Every dollar should be treated like an employee. If that employee is sleeping on the job in your checking account, you need to fire them and put them to work in your investment portfolio. You should calculate your monthly burn rate by looking at your last few months of spending and then multiply it by 6 to set your absolute cash cap. Anything above that number is lazy money. It needs to be deployed into assets immediately, or it is simply losing value. You also need to automate the whole process, so once your checking account hits a certain level, the rest sweeps into investments without you having to make a decision. The hard truth is that comfort is expensive, and keeping all your money in the bank is basically a tax you pay to your own anxiety. You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to get used to seeing your net worth fluctuate, because that is the price of admission for building actual wealth. The safety trap tempts you with security, but what it really delivers is poverty by allowing inflation to eat your labor from the inside out. Real financial freedom does not come from a pile of stagnant cash. It comes from assets that work harder than you do. So cap your cash and invest the rest. Your future self is counting on the decision you make right now. So do not let them down by taking the easy path today that leads to a hard life tomorrow. But let us go even deeper into why this shift is so hard for people raised to believe cash is king. If you look at the richest people in the world, you will notice that very little of their net worth sits in cash. That is because they understand the velocity of money. Wealthy people treat money like a hot potato that needs to be moved into assets quickly before it cools off and loses value. They know cash is a depreciating asset, even though that sounds like an oxymoron. In our modern economy, it is true. Every day you hold a dollar, it buys slightly less than it did the day before. That means if you are just standing still, you are actually moving backward. That is why so many middle-class people feel like they are running faster and faster, just to stay in the same place. The banking industry spends billions convincing you that savings accounts are the smartest place to park your money because they need your deposits to fuel lending. They throw free toasters, small bonuses, and marketing gimmicks at you because they know the lifetime value of your deposit is worth far more than the tiny sign-up reward. They are trading on your fear and their knowledge of how the financial system works, and they win every time you leave extra cash sitting in their accounts. You need to stop acting like a customer of the bank and start thinking like an owner. When you buy stocks or index funds, you become an owner of the companies that power the economy instead of just a consumer buying what they sell. That shift from consumer to owner is the real difference between people who build generational wealth and people who struggle to make ends meet even with a decent income. It is not about how much you make. It is about how much of what you make is actually working for you instead of waiting to be spent. A lot of people operate with a scarcity mindset that tells them they might need that money someday for some vague disaster in the future. And yes, disasters do happen. But the truth is that most financial emergencies can be covered by that 3 to 6 month buffer we talked about earlier. Keeping $50,000 or $100,000 in cash for a disaster that might cost $5,000 is wildly inefficient. It is like wearing a full suit of armor every single day in case somebody throws a pebble at you. We also need to talk about the emotional comfort people get from seeing a huge number in their bank account versus seeing that same number in an investment account. When the market is volatile and your portfolio drops by 10% or 20%, it feels like real loss. That triggers panic. But the stability of your bank balance is an illusion, because while the number stays the same, what that number can buy keeps shrinking. An investment account might swing up and down in the short term, but over the long term, purchasing power grows. You need to train your brain to look past short-term volatility and focus on the long-term trend, which has historically moved upward for the US stock market. Taxes matter here too, and this is another area where wealthy people have a huge advantage over average savers. Interest income from savings accounts gets taxed at your ordinary income tax rate, which is often the highest rate you pay. Long-term capital gains from investments are taxed much lower, which means you keep more of what you earn. So by keeping your money in savings, you are exposing yourself to the highest tax treatment while earning the lowest possible return. That is a recipe for stagnation. Moving money into investments does not just increase growth. It also improves tax efficiency, which speeds up wealth building even more. Another important part of escaping the safety trap is learning the difference between saving for a specific goal and hoarding money out of fear. If you are saving for a down payment on a house you plan to buy in 2 years, then yes, cash or a high-yield savings account makes perfect sense because you need the principal protected. But if you are just hoarding money with no specific timeline or purpose because it feels nice to see it there, then you are stuck in the trap. Every dollar needs a job and a timeline. Money you need within 12 months belongs in cash. Money you will not touch for 10 years belongs in the market. Inflation is not just milk and bread getting more expensive. It is the cost of your future freedom increasing. If you plan to retire in 20 or 30 years, the amount of money you need to support your lifestyle will be much higher than it is today. $1 million may sound huge now, but in 30 years, it could buy only what $400,000 buys today. If you keep your wealth in cash, you are guaranteeing that you fall short of retirement goals because you are trying to win a race against inflation with a strategy designed to lose. Investing is the only reliable way to stay ahead of inflation and preserve the value of your money over decades. The liquidity ladder gives you a way to balance safety and growth, so you do not have to choose one or the other. You can have the peace of mind that comes with a cash buffer while still participating in the wealth creation engine of the global economy. That means you can sleep at night knowing you can handle an emergency while also knowing your future is being protected by your investments. That balance is the key to sustainable wealth because it handles both your emotional needs and the math. You also need to be careful about the advice you get from friends and family who may mean well, but are still trapped in the same poverty mindset. They might tell you the stock market is gambling or that cash is the only safe place for money because that is what they were taught. But you have to look at the results of that thinking and ask whether you want to end up in the same financial position. If you want different results, you need to do something different. That means breaking away from the herd and making decisions based on data instead of fear. The journey from saver to investor takes education and discipline, but it is one of the most rewarding things you can do for your financial health. You start with safety by building your emergency fund, and then you systematically build wealth on top of it. You do not need to be a genius to do this. You just need consistency and the ability to tolerate some short-term volatility for long-term gain. The market will go up and down, but over the long run, it has always rewarded those who stay the course. Think about the legacy you want to leave for your family and the money lessons you want your children to inherit. Do you want to teach them to live in fear and hoard every resource, or do you want to teach them to allocate capital intelligently and make money work for them? Breaking the safety trap is not just about your bank account. It is about changing the financial future of your entire family line. When you understand these ideas, you give yourself the freedom to live life on your own terms instead of being ruled by a paycheck or trapped by inflation. So take a hard look at your money today and ask yourself whether you are actually saving or just slowly losing purchasing power. Figure out your real burn rate, set your emergency fund cap, and start moving that lazy money into productive assets. It may feel scary at first to watch your cash balance drop as you move money into investments, but that fear is just your primitive brain trying to protect you in a world that no longer exists. Trust the math, trust the history of the market, trust yourself to handle what comes next. You already have the tools and the knowledge to break free from the safety trap and build the wealth you deserve. Remember, every day you wait is another day inflation chips away at your hard-earned money. The best time to do this was yesterday, but the second best time is right now. Do not let analysis paralysis keep you frozen, because the cost of doing nothing is far greater than the risk of investing. You are capable of managing your money and securing your future, but you have to take the first step. Move the money, automate the investing. Stop paying the fear tax that is holding you back from your potential. Your financial freedom is waiting on the other side of that fear. The other side of that fear.